Today we're installing this hefty beast to keep our CPU cooled. Isn't that right, Zelda? What's up, s'mores? I'm Shannon Morse, and welcome back to my PC build series. So far, we have installed our CPU, the RAM, and the storage, and we put the motherboard in the case. And today we are tackling the liquid cooling. Now, if you have ever built a PC before, hearing the words liquid and electronics in the same sentence can sound a little bit concerning. Trust me, I understand, but modern all-in-one coolers are designed to be incredibly beginner friendly. You don't have to fill them, maintain them, or really do anything complicated. It's all just plug and play. Now today I'm going to show you how they work, why they are useful, and how to install one. Now before we install anything, I want to talk about why coolers exist in the first place. This build is using an AMD Ryzen 9 9950X CPU. Now that is a processor which is a beast. It has 16 cores, 32 threads. The downside is performance creates heat, a lot of heat. So if a CPU gets hot, it starts protecting itself by reducing performance. This is called thermal throttling. A cooler helps move that heat away from the processor so it can maintain peak performance. Now the cooler that I am using is the ASUS ROG Ryujin 3 ARGB Extreme. I know that's a very long title, but this is called an AIO Cooler, which stands for all-in-one. Unlike custom liquid cooling loops like the ones that you saw me recording over at Computex, everything in here is pre-assembled, it's pre-installed, it's sealed from the factory. Inside the system is coolant that moves heat away from the CPU and into a radiator where fans help dissipate it. You can think of this exactly like you think of a radiator in a classic car. The heat gets transported somewhere it can be cooled more efficiently. All right, let's identify the major components. First, we have that CPU block. This is the pump. This is the part that sits directly on top of the processor. Next, we have the radiator. This is the large metal section that contains little fins that help release heat into the air. And then finally, we have 3 fans here. These pull or push air through the radiator to remove that heat. Every single piece works together to keep temperatures under control. Now, before we install this, if you're finding this video helpful, a subscribe means so much to me. Subscribing is pretty much the simplest way to support your favorite content creators here on YouTube, and it also shows me which videos you find valuable. Also, a big Patreon shout out to all of my newest patrons. You can join them and support my channel by going over to patreon.com/ShannonMorse for perks like early video access and my private Discord. And as usual, all the videos on my channel are free to watch, and I thank my YouTube members and my patrons for making that possible. Okay, before we mount anything, we need a plan. We need to talk about airflow. Every single fan has 2 sides. Air enters from one side and it exits through the other. The side that doesn't have the logo is usually going to be the exhaust side. I think one of my biggest annoyances when it comes to PC builds is the amount of times I've installed fans backwards or upside down and the airflow goes the wrong way. It happens. It's really easy to fix. We've all done it. I might do it on this build. Sometimes you just aren't paying attention and it gets installed the wrong way. It's totally fine. A simple airflow setup looks like this. Cool air will come into the case, warm air leaves the case, and that's it. You just want air circulation going on. You want some kind of predictable path for airflow. So for this build, we're going to be mounting our radiator on the top of the case where it can act as an exhaust. That allows rising heat to naturally leave the system. Okay, so now we're going to prep this radiator. A front-mounted radiator can sometimes provide slightly cooler CPU temperatures because it's pulling fresh air directly through the radiator. A top-mounted radiator often provides better overall case airflow and is generally my preferred configuration when the case supports it. Since this ASUS case does support it very nicely, we're going to go with that top-mounted radiator. Now, before the radiator goes into the case, it's a lot easier to install the fans. So take a minute to check the airflow direction. Most manufacturers include arrows on the fan frame, and you can see arrows on mine showing the airflow direction and the blade rotation. Always double check before tightening everything down. So for this setup, the radiator fans will be configured as exhaust fans, helping pull heat out of the top of the case. Once the orientation is correct, secure those fans to the radiator using the included screws. Those are those really long screws that you saw me take out of the box. There are also little pin connectors in between the fans on these, and again, so cool, so nice and easy to install. They just magnetically attach to each other. On the other end of the fans, there is a connector. Pick the right connector depending on what side you want to connect the cable to, and then let it magnetically attach. It's so simple. I love this installation. It's so easy. Some people prefer cable management with all of the cables on the right side. Some people prefer them all on the left. For me, I'm going to attach all the cables on the right side and then feed them behind the motherboard. Now, the other end of the cable has your CPU fan header port, which controls power and speed, and the other one controls the lighting. Again, don't over tighten, but firm is good. Okay, now let's install the radiator assembly that we have prepared. Since we are using a top-mounted configuration, the radiator is going to sit here at the top of the case. One advantage of installing the motherboard first is that we can verify the tubing clearance and fan placement before tightening everything down. As I position the radiator, unfortunately I don't have 3 hands, or this would be a lot easier, but I am paying attention to the tube routing, the memory clearance, and the overall airflow. Once everything looks good, I'm gonna secure the radiator using the included screws. Now again, this is a lot easier if you have a second person just to hold it in place while you install those screws. Otherwise, you're kind of combating gravity. But just like that, our cooling system is in place. This is usually the point where a PC build suddenly starts looking like kind of bougie and fancy. It's really exciting. But we need to install the pump. So let's talk about the tiny gray substance that starts all sorts of arguments on the internet. It's called thermal paste. Thermal paste fills microscopic gaps between the CPU and the cooler. Even surfaces that look perfectly smooth, they're gonna have tiny little imperfections. Without thermal paste, those gaps will trap air, and air is terrible at transferring heat. For most builders, you just need to add a little pea-sized mount to the center of the CPU. That's all you're gonna need, just a small amount right in the center. When the cooler is installed, pressure will spread it evenly across the processor. Now in my case, thermal paste is already pre-installed on the AIO, so I actually don't even need to add any extra thermal compound unless I want to wipe it off completely and add my own. You don't want to mix thermal compounds because that can create air gaps. You also want to make sure that you are installing just a pea-sized amount. You don't want to overdo it or else it will just squeeze out over the edges. Now, if I find that my CPU is running a little bit too warm, I may replace that thermal compound, and that's easy enough to do. I can always uninstall the pump. I can wipe off the thermal compound that came with it, but that should be enough for my use cases since I don't intend to do any kind of overclocking or anything like that. But now it's time to mount the cooler pump. Now, since we're using that AM5 motherboard, we're gonna follow ASUS's included instructions for the appropriate mounting hardware. Carefully align the CPU block over the processor, lower it straight down, and try not to slide it around unnecessarily once it makes contact with that thermal paste. Then just tighten the mounting screws gradually using a cross pattern. Now in my case, I did have to move around the thumb screws so that they would match up with the brackets perfectly because they are aligned differently depending on if you have an Intel board or if you have an AMD 5 board with an AMD chipset. It really just depends on what kind of chipset you're currently using, and then you need to make those changes with your AIO. So the goal here when you're placing this on your chipset is even pressure across the entire CPU. Once it's secured, the cooler is officially mounted. So the cables are going to go to the pump header and the USB cable for Armory Crate for the LCD screen. The screen actually magnetically attaches, so you can remove this during install, and that's what I did here. Okay, so before we celebrate, we still need to connect all the things. So modern AIO coolers require power for the pump, the radiator fans, and in this case, RGB lighting and the display. So locate the appropriate fan and pump headers and refer to your motherboard layout and manual for those. We will route these cables neatly later, but for now, we're just verifying that everything can reach where it needs to go. Okay, let's take a look at where we are now. This is looking good. The motherboard has the CPU installed, the memory modules are installed, all 3 SSDs, the AIO cooler is mounted and ready to go. At this point, we've completed most of the motherboard assembly, and we have also installed it in the case. So in the next video, we're gonna install the power supply, we will route some cables, we're gonna learn about how all these components actually receive power. Eventually, we're also gonna install the GPU, and we're gonna tackle cable management. So if this video helped make AIOs just a little less intimidating, make sure to hit subscribe and join me for the next part of the build, and I will see you there. Bye, y'all.